The message arrived on Elias Carter's tablet at exactly 6 in the morning, which already made it suspicious. Nothing good ever arrived that early, especially not from the Interstellar Exchange Authority. He stared at the glowing text while half awake, hoping it would disappear if he blinked enough times. It did not. Notice: housing reassignment approved. You will receive one off-world resident, effective immediately. Compliance mandatory. Elias groaned and rolled onto his back, staring at the ceiling of his small but carefully organized dorm room. He had joined the station's human research division because it promised quiet work, predictable hours, and absolutely no roommates. Humans were still considered interesting but fragile, and most aliens preferred their own kind. Apparently, that had changed. He sat up and reread the message. No explanation. No name. Just off-world resident. That could mean anything from a floating gas being to something with too many eyes. He quickly scanned the room, suddenly aware of how human it looked. Clothes folded neatly, a bed pressed against the wall, a desk with scattered notes and an old photo from Earth taped to the corner. The door chimed. Elias froze. The chime sounded again, polite and patient. Whoever, or whatever, was on the other side did not seem in a hurry. He stood, smoothed his shirt, and walked to the door. Before he could overthink it, he pressed the panel. The door slid open. She stood there, quietly, hands folded in front of her, head tilted slightly to the side. At first glance, she looked almost human. Same height, same basic shape, pale skin with a faint shimmer under the station lights, long dark hair that fell straight down her back. Then she blinked. Her eyes adjusted independently, pupils shifting in slow, deliberate patterns. When she smiled, it was a little too perfect, like she had practiced it. "Hello?" she said. Her voice was calm, soft, and very clear. "I am your assigned cohabitation partner." Elias opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "You're my what?" She stepped forward without waiting for permission, crossing the doorway in one smooth motion. Elias instinctively stepped back, nearly bumping into his desk. "I am designated Lyra." "7," she said, looking around the room with intense focus. "However, you may shorten it to Lyra. Human preference favors reduced syllables." She stood very close, much closer than anyone else usually did. Elias could see faint patterns moving beneath her skin, like slow waves. "Personal space," he said quickly, raising a hand. "Sorry, humans usually stand a bit farther apart." Lyra paused, her head tilted again, sharper this time. She took half a step back, then leaned forward instead. "Like this?" she asked. "That's worse." She straightened immediately. "Noted." Elias exhaled slowly. "So, you're moving in?" "Yes." "Into my room?" "Yes." "For how long?" "Duration unclear." "Observation phase ongoing." That answer made his stomach tighten. "Observation?" She looked at him, eyes focusing fully now.
"Yes, you are the subject."
That did not help. Lyra turned in a slow circle, scanning everything. She reached out and touched the edge of his desk, then his chair, then the blanket on his bed. Each movement was careful, almost gentle. "This space is smaller than projected," she said. "But acceptable." Elias cleared his throat. "You could have knocked earlier. Or sent a warning?" "I did knock," she replied. "You did not respond. That was before I was awake." "Then your awareness cycle is inefficient," she said simply. She stepped closer again. Elias moved sideways this time. "Please don't stand that close." "Why?" The question was genuine, not challenging. "Because—"
It feels uncomfortable. Define uncomfortable. He struggled for the right words.
like pressure, too much attention. Lyra considered this. Your species experiences distress from focused proximity? Sometimes. Yes, she nodded slowly. Fascinating. She sat down on his bed without asking. Elias stared. That's my bed. Yes. I will be sharing it. He nearly choked. What? For thermal efficiency and trust acceleration, she said. Shared resting space increases bonding speed by 43%. No, no, no. That's not happening. She looked surprised. Truly surprised. Why? Because humans don't do that, especially not with strangers. We are not strangers, she said. I have reviewed your file extensively. That sentence made his skin prickle. My file? Yes, Elias Carter, age 24, born on Earth. Moderate stress tolerance. Elevated empathy markers. Low aggression index. Ideal. Candidate. For what? She smiled again. You will learn. The silence stretched. Elias sat down in his chair, rubbing his temples. Okay, new rule. We need rules. Rules are inefficient, she said. They're necessary, he replied firmly. She watched him closely now, her gaze never leaving his face. Very well. Establish parameters. He took a breath. First, personal space, at least this far. He gestured with his arms. She memorized the distance instantly. Second, you don't touch my things without asking. Noted. Third, you do not read my file out loud. Or at all, preferably. Request denied, she said calmly. However, I will reduce verbal references. He sighed. I guess that's something. Lyra stood and moved to the corner of the room, stopping exactly at the boundary he had shown earlier. Is this distance acceptable? Yes, he said, relieved. She stayed there for a moment, then she stepped closer again. Elias groaned. Why did you move? To confirm reaction consistency, she said. Your discomfort increased by approximately 12%. That's not a good thing. She nodded slowly. Interesting. The station lights dimmed slightly as the artificial evening cycle began. Outside the window, stars drifted past in silent motion. Lyra suddenly sat on the floor, cross-legged, staring up at him. Tell me, she said, why humans resist closeness when it improves survival odds. Because we're not built the same way, Elias replied. We value choice. She repeated the word quietly. Choice. Yes. Being close means more when it's optional. Her expression changed then, just slightly, not confusion, something deeper. That concept does not exist in my culture, she said. Elias hesitated. Then maybe that's why you're here. She looked at him for a long time. Perhaps, she said. A soft chime sounded from her wrist device. She glanced at it, then back at him. The observation period has begun, she said. Please behave naturally. He gave a tired laugh. This is natural now? For humans, she replied. You adapt quickly. She stood and walked toward him again, stopping just at the boundary line this time. She did not cross it. Elias noticed. Outside, unseen by either of them, sensors activated and data streams began to flow. Somewhere deeper in the station, beings far older than humanity watched closely. The human was not reacting the way he was supposed to. And that made everything far more interesting. Elias did not sleep well that night. It was not because of noise. Lyra was completely silent. Too silent. He lay on his bed staring at the ceiling, aware of her presence on the other side of the room. She had chosen the floor, sitting perfectly still for hours, her eyes open the entire time. At some point, he turned his head and saw her looking directly at him. "You are awake?" she said quietly. "Yes," he replied. "Humans do that. We wake up during rest cycles." "I see," she said. "Your breathing pattern changed. That doesn't mean you have to watch me." "I am required to," she said. "Observation improves accuracy." Elias sighed and turned onto his side, facing away from her. "Try observing less." There was a pause. "Request acknowledged," she said. He waited for her to move. She did not. The next morning came with artificial sunlight and a low station hum. Elias sat at his desk, trying to prepare for work, while Lyra stood beside him far too quietly.
"You do not eat," she said. "I do."
"Just later." "You skipped the previous cycle as well." He glanced at her. "Are you tracking my meals now?"
"Yes. Why?" "Nutrition affects emotional regulation," she replied.
"Your emotional responses are central to my assignment." "That's comforting," he muttered. She leaned closer to the desk, her shoulder nearly brushing his arm. Elias stiffened. "You're too close," he said. She immediately stepped back. "Apologies." He paused. "You're learning." "Yes," she said. "Your reactions are consistent when boundaries are respected." That surprised him. They left the room together, walking through the wide halls of the station. Other species moved around them, tall, small, glowing, mechanical. A few glanced at Elias, more than usual. Lyra walked half a step behind him, matching his pace exactly. "You don't have to follow that closely," he said. "I was told humans feel safer when accompanied," she replied. "Sometimes, not like this." She moved to walk beside him instead. Their arms nearly touched. "Like this?" she asked. "That's better." She looked pleased. Or at least what he thought was pleased. At the research wing, Elias tried to focus on his work. Data analysis, behavioral modeling, predictable things. Lyra sat across from him, watching every movement, every expression. "You blink more frequently when confused," she said. "I don't need a narrator. You sigh when stressed. I know. You clench your jaw when uncomfortable." He looked up.
"Okay, that one I didn't know." She tilted her head.
"Would you like me to stop reporting?" "Yes." Noted. She stopped talking. That was worse. Several minutes passed, then 10, then 20. Elias glanced up. "You can say things, just not everything."
"She processed this. Selective communication?"
"Yes." She nodded. "Understood." Later, as they walked back to the room, Elias noticed something strange. Lyra paused when passing a reflective surface, staring at her own image. "You okay?" he asked. She did not answer right away. "My posture has changed." "So?" "It was not intentional. Humans do that all the time." She looked at him. "You change without noticing. That's called adapting." Her eyes focused sharply. "Explain. We adjust to situations. People. Places. We don't always plan it." She went quiet again, thinking. Back in the room, Elias sat on his bed, exhausted. Lyra stood nearby, just at the edge of his comfort zone. "Why did you choose me?" he asked suddenly. She looked surprised. "You wish to know now?" "Yes." She took a moment. "Your psychological profile showed high tolerance for uncertainty." "You express discomfort without hostility. You negotiate instead of dominate." That sounds like a polite way of saying I'm easy to deal with. Incorrect, she said. It means you are difficult to destabilize. That made him pause. She continued, My species excels at integration. We overwhelm new cultures through closeness, efficiency, and emotional synchronization. Resistance usually collapses. And humans? You resist without aggression, she said. Unusual. Elias leaned back on his hands. So this is a test?
Yes.
And if humans fail?
She hesitated.
That information is classified.
She said.
He did not like that answer. That night, something changed. Lyra began asking questions that were not on any checklist. Why do humans decorate personal spaces? She asked. Because it makes us feel like we belong somewhere.
Why do you keep that image?
She pointed at the photo on his desk. My family, he said. There, on Earth. You experience separation distress, she nodded. Yes, yet you still leave? We choose to. She repeated it again. Choice. Later, the station experienced a minor systems delay. Lights flickered. The hum deepened. Elias stiffened without realizing it. Lyra noticed immediately. You are anxious, she said. It's nothing, he replied, though his voice was tight. Your heart rate has increased. I don't like sudden system failures. She stepped closer before he could stop her, then froze, remembering the boundary. Slowly, carefully, she extended her hand, but did not touch him. May I? She asked. He looked at her hand, then at her face, but she was waiting. Truly waiting. Okay, he said. She gently placed her hand on his arm. Her touch was warm, steady. Elias's breathing slowed. That helps, he admitted. Her eyes widened slightly. Consent improves effectiveness. Yeah, he said quietly. It always does. The lights stabilized. Systems returned to normal. Lyra did not remove her hand right away. She withdrew immediately. Apologies, no, he said. It was fine. She studied his face. You allowed closeness. I chose it, he corrected. Her expression shifted again. That same deep, unreadable look. The next day, Elias was summoned unexpectedly. Lyra insisted on coming. The council chamber was vast and cold. Alien observers watched from elevated platforms. Elias felt very small. Lyra stood beside him, closer than usual. Human representative, a voice echoed. Your exchange partner's data is concerning. Elias swallowed. Concerning how? Human adaptability exceeds projections, the voice said. You are influencing the observer. Lyra stiffened. That is not the protocol, the council continued. You are the subject, not the variable. Elias glanced at Lyra. Is that true? She said nothing. Separation may be required, the voice concluded. Elias felt something twist in his chest. Wait, he said. You're judging us based on one setup, one method. That's not how humans work. Explain, the council demanded. We don't respond well to force or control, Elias said. But we respond to respect, to choice. If you want to understand us, you can't corner us. Silence filled the chamber. Lyra slowly turned her head to look at him. The council finally spoke. The test continues. For now, back in the room. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Lyra said, "You defended me." "I defended humans," Elias replied. "You just happened to be involved." She considered this. I am not supposed to feel uncertain. Welcome to the club, he said with a tired smile. She looked at him, standing a little closer than before, but still waiting. For the first time, she did not cross the line. And for the first time, Elias wondered who was really being studied now. Elias noticed the change before Lyra did. She was quieter than usual, but not in the same way as before. Earlier, her silence had felt sharp, observant, almost mechanical. Now, it felt hesitant, like she was thinking before every movement. He was sitting at his desk when he realized she had been standing near the door for several minutes without moving. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she replied quickly. That alone told him she was not. "You didn't pause that time," he said. "Way?" "I am adapting," she said, but her voice lacked its usual certainty. Elias leaned back in his chair. "You don't have to be perfect, you know." She looked at him. "Imperfection reduces efficiency." "Maybe," he said, "but it increases understanding." She processed that longer than usual. The station corridors felt different now. Elias noticed other humans acting much like he had, setting boundaries, negotiating calmly, refusing silent pressure. The alien observers watched closely, their attention no longer casual. Lyra noticed, too. "Your species' behavior is spreading," she said as they walked. "We talk," Elias replied. "We compare notes." That was not anticipated. Humans do that a lot. She slowed her pace slightly, forcing him to slow with her. "My superiors are displeased," she said quietly. "That sounds serious. They believe I am deviating." Elias stopped walking. She stopped too, perfectly in sync. "Are you?" he asked. She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second." "Yes," she said. That answer carried weight. Back in the room, Lyra sat on the floor again, but this time she leaned against the wall. It was a very human posture. "You're copying us," Elias said gently. "I did not intend to. Still counts." She looked down at her hands. "I am experiencing internal conflict. That's called being confused. My species does not experience confusion in this manner." "Congratulations," he said softly. "You're expanding your emotional range." She did not smile. That night, Lyra slept. Not in the way she usually rested. Eyes open, unmoving, but curled slightly on the floor, breathing slow and deep. Elias noticed when he woke up. He did not comment on it. The next morning, alarms echoed softly through the station. "Not an emergency." A system-wide announcement. "Attention exchange participants, behavioral assessment phase 2 is now active." Lyra stiffened. "What does that mean?" Elias asked. "Stress simulation," she said. "They will apply pressure." "On us? On humans?" she corrected. "Through us?" Elias felt his jaw tighten. "So you're supposed to push harder?" "Yes." "Are you going to?" She looked at him, eyes searching his face in a way she never had before. "I do not know," she admitted. That answer mattered more than he could explain. Phase 2 was subtle. No threats, no force, just increased demands, requests framed as expectations, observers standing too close, questions asked without pauses for answers. Elias noticed Lyra watching him instead of the council screens. "They want you to override boundaries," he said quietly. "Yes, you don't have to." "That is not correct," she said. "I was created for this role." He stood, facing her. "You're allowed to choose." Her breath caught, just barely. "That word again," she said.
"Yes," he replied. Again, the council contacted Lyra privately later that day.
Elias could hear fragments through the door. You are compromised. Your attachment is inefficient. Corrective action required. When she returned, her movements were stiff, controlled.
They want you to back off.
Elias said. They want me to reassert dominance, she replied. And? She stepped closer to him. He tensed, but she stopped herself. I cannot, she said. His heart skipped. Why? He asked. Because I understand now, she said. Closeness without choice is not trust, it is control. Elias exhaled slowly. That's a big realization. It is dangerous, she said. For me. The station lights dimmed again, but this time Elias did not tense. Lyra noticed. You are calm, she said. I trust the system, he replied. And you? Her eyes widened. Trust, she repeated. Given. Not demanded. Yes. Silence filled the room. Elsewhere in the station, observers compared data. Humans were not breaking. They were adjusting. Communicating. Supporting each other. The strategy that had worked on dozens of species was failing. That scared them. Lyra sat beside Elias, not touching, but close enough to feel present. If they decide humans are incompatible, she said softly, they may isolate your species. Containment? Elias said. Yes. He nodded slowly. Then they're making the same mistake. Explain. They think strength comes from control, he said. Humans know it comes from cooperation. She looked at him with something close to awe. Later that night, Lyra spoke again. I was not designed to question my creators, she said. But you are, Elias replied. Yes. That doesn't mean you're broken, her voice lowered. What if it means I am human-like? He smiled gently. Then you're in good company. The next day, the council summoned them both. The chamber felt colder than before. You are influencing the observer, the council said to Elias. You are failing your role, they said to Lyra. Elias stepped forward. She's learning. That's the point, isn't it? Our evaluation does not require empathy, the council replied. That's why you're wrong, Elias said calmly. You're measuring compliance, not compatibility. Silence followed. Lyra spoke then, her voice steady but changed. Humans are not inefficient, she said. They are resilient. They adapt without losing identity. They cooperate without merging. The council paused. That is unprecedented, they admitted. It is effective, Lyra added. The session ended without a verdict. Back in the room, Elias sat heavily on his bed. That was risky, he said. Yes, Lyra replied, but necessary. She hesitated, then sat beside him, not touching, waiting. Thank you, she said. For what? For not trying to change me, she said. You allowed me to change myself. Elias looked at her. That's kind of our thing, she smiled, then. Not practiced, not perfect, real. Outside, the observers argued. Data streams conflicted. Predictions failed. Humanity was no longer just the subject, it was becoming the example. And that terrified the galaxy. The station felt different now. Elias could not explain it clearly, but he felt it in the pauses between announcements, in the way observers watched instead of spoke, and in how often doors stayed closed longer than necessary. The evaluation was no longer calm, it was strained. Lyra noticed it too. They are uncertain, she said as they walked through the central corridor. Uncertainty makes them uncomfortable.
Welcome to being human, Elias replied.
She almost smiled. Phase 2 was supposed to increase pressure. Instead, something unexpected happened. Humans across the station began cooperating in quiet ways. They shared notes, compared experiences, set clear limits together. The observers did not know how to respond. They were used to individuals breaking. Humans did not break alone. Lyra watched Elias speak with other human participants, his tone calm, steady, respectful. No raised voices, no anger, just clear words. "You are coordinating," she said later. "We always do," Elias replied. "Even when we don't realize it." That was not part of the projections. Most human things aren't. The council began issuing indirect requests, longer observation hours, reduced private time, closer monitoring. Elias declined politely. So did the others. Every refusal was calm, respectful, united. The system flagged it as resistance, but it was not rebellion. It was choice. Lyra was called in more frequently now. Her reports were questioned, rechecked, compared to others. "You are filtering information," one observer accused. "I am reporting accurately," Lyra replied. "Your emotional indicators are elevated." "Yes."
That compromises objectivity? No, she said. It expands perspective. That answer was recorded as a deviation.
Elias waited for her every time she returned. He did not ask questions right away. He let her settle. That, too, was something she learned from him. "They want me to correct you," she said one evening. "By doing what?" "Reducing your influence, creating distance." "And do you want to?" She did not answer immediately. "No," she said finally. The word sounded heavier than before, more solid. The station experienced another system's fluctuation that night. This one was longer. Lights dimmed for several minutes. Background hum dropped. Elias noticed humans staying calm, talking, joking, quietly, supporting each other. The observers noticed, too. Panic did not spread. Trust did. Lyra stood beside Elias, watching it all. "This should not be happening," she whispered. "It happens all the time," he replied. "You just don't see it from the outside." The next council session was different. More voices, less confidence.
Human adaptability exceeds acceptable margins, one voice said. They influence observers, another added. They refuse integration protocols. They redefine them, Lyra said calmly. The council turned to her.
"You are compromised. I am informed," she replied. "That is not your role. That is the problem," she said. Silence followed. Elias was not supposed to speak, but he did anyway.
You built your system to measure obedience, he said. You never learned how to measure trust. That is irrelevant. It's everything, he replied. The council paused the session. That alone was a victory. Later, Lyra sat quietly in the room, staring at her hands again. Elias recognized the posture now, thinking, processing emotion. "I may be removed," she said. Elias felt his chest tighten. "Removed how?" "Reassigned. Isolated." Reset.
He swallowed. "Do you want that?" "No," she said immediately. Then softer, "I am afraid." That word was new. He sat beside her, leaving space. "That makes sense," he said. "Fear means you care." "Is that why humans endure uncertainty?" she asked. "Partly," he said, "and partly because we trust each other to get through it." She looked at him.
Even when systems fail?
Especially then. The council made its decision 2 days later. Humans would be reclassified, not as integration candidates, but as anomalies. Observation would continue, but partnership was suspended. Containment without confinement. It was meant to be a warning. The human participants gathered quietly afterward. No shouting. No panic. They talked. They adapted. They planned. Lyra watched, standing at the edge of the group. No one pushed her away. Elias caught her eye and nodded slightly. She stepped closer. The next report she submitted was different. Clear, honest, direct. Humans cannot be dominated through closeness, it read. They require consent. They function best when trusted. Attempts at control reduce cooperation. The system flagged it as critical deviation. The council summoned her immediately. Elias waited. When she returned, her posture was steady, but her eyes were different, focused, resolved. "They will not remove me," she said. "Why not?" "Because my data is correct," she replied, "and because they cannot replace perspective once it exists." He smiled. "That's very human of you." She considered that. "I am still not human. I know. But I am no longer only what I was made to be. That's kind of the point." The observers began arguing among themselves now. Older species questioned methods. Younger ones questioned authority. Humanity was not forcing change. It was inspiring it. The council issued a final adjustment. Humans would be invited to help redesign the evaluation system as consultants. Elias read the notice twice to be sure.
"They're asking us for help?"
He said in disbelief. "Yes," Lyra replied. "They do not understand you. That makes you valuable." He laughed quietly. That's one way to put it. That night, the room felt warmer, not physically, emotionally. Lyra sat beside Elias on the bed, leaving just enough space. "May I stay?" she asked.
"You don't have to ask,"
he said, then corrected himself. "But I appreciate that you did." She smiled. A real one. Outside the room, the galaxy shifted slightly. Old systems cracked. New ideas formed. Humans did not conquer. They were invited. And that terrified those who had never learned how to choose anything for themselves. The station did not announce the change. It simply felt different. The lights were warmer. The corridors felt less tense. Observers no longer stood too close or watched in silence. They spoke now, asked questions, sometimes even waited for answers. Elias noticed it during breakfast. An alien researcher paused before sitting down across from him. "May I?" they asked. Elias smiled. "Yeah." "Go ahead." Across the station, humans noticed the same thing. Requests instead of demands. Curiosity instead of pressure. Lyra noticed it most of all. "They are copying you," she said quietly as they walked back to the room. "We're contagious," Elias replied. "That is not what I meant," she said. "They are changing." He stopped walking and looked at her. "So are you." She did not deny it. The council's final assembly took place 3 days later. Not an interrogation. Not an evaluation. A discussion. Elias stood among other human representatives. Lyra stood beside him, no longer labeled as an observer, but as a liaison. That word mattered. The council spoke first. "We build systems to measure compliance," the lead voice said. "Humanity has demonstrated a different metric." Elias listened carefully. "Your species functions without shared minds, enforced hierarchy, or proximity pressure," the council continued. "Yet you cooperate effectively. You adapt rapidly. You maintain identity while forming bonds." Lyra glanced at Elias. "That makes you unpredictable," the council admitted, "and therefore valuable." No one spoke for a moment. Then Elias said, "We're not here to replace your systems." "Then why are you here?" the council asked. "Because you invited us," he replied calmly. And because understanding works better than control. Silence followed. Then, agreement. Humanity was officially reclassified. Not as subjects, not as anomalies, but as partners. The exchange program ended that same day. Ships prepared for departure. Participants packed quietly. Some humans were excited to go home. Others felt something closer to sadness. Lyra stood in the room, watching Elias place his belongings into a small travel case. "You are leaving," she said. "Yeah," he replied. That was always the plan. Her posture was still. Too still. "My assignment has ended as well," she said. "That sounds like freedom," he said gently. "It feels like loss," she replied. Elias paused. That word meant something now. "You don't have to leave immediately," he said. "You could stay a while. Learn more." She looked at him. "Is that an invitation?" "It's a choice," he said. She stepped closer, stopped, waited. "May I?" she asked softly. He nodded. She hugged him. It was awkward. Careful. Gentle, but real. Elias felt her arms tighten slightly, then relax. "This is..."
Comforting, she said quietly.
"Yeah," he replied. "It usually is." When they separated, she did not step away immediately. "I will stay," she said, "not because I am assigned, but because I want to." Elias smiled.
Then, welcome.
The galaxy adjusted faster than anyone expected. Human consultants helped redesign exchange protocols. Consent became a variable. Choice became a measure. Emotional resilience became data. Older species struggled. Younger ones adapted quickly. Lyra became something new. Not fully alien, not human, but informed. She asked questions now without obligation. She laughed sometimes. Quietly, unexpectedly. Elias noticed she no longer tracked his breathing. Months passed. Humanity's reputation spread. Not as conquerors, not as warriors, but as stabilizers. When conflicts arose between species, humans were invited to listen, to translate, to explain why force failed where patience worked. Elias eventually returned to Earth. Lyra visited often. She stood beneath open skies and felt rain for the first time. She learned that humans cried even when nothing was wrong. She learned that closeness meant more when it was chosen again and again. One evening, standing on a balcony overlooking a city of lights, she spoke softly.
Your species frightens many, she said. Why? Elias asked.
Because you cannot be owned, she replied. And because you do not try to own others. He nodded. That scares people who only understand control. She looked at him. You changed me. He shook his head. You changed yourself, she smiled. Far beyond Earth, the Council archived the human evaluation. Final conclusion. Humanity is not compatible with domination models. Humanity thrives under trust-based systems. Humanity adapts without losing self. Recommendation. Do not attempt control. Instead, cooperate. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy followed advice written by humans, and for the first time, it felt quieter, not weaker. Stronger, because humanity had proven something simple and impossible to ignore. You did not need to conquer the universe. Sometimes all you had to do was teach it how to stand close, without forcing anyone to stay.